Welcome to the Green Wisdom Health Podcast with Dr. Stephen and Janet Lewis, where you will learn about natural solutions to common ailments. And now, here are your hosts, Dr. Stephen and Janet Lewis.
Hello and welcome to this week's show. I'm Janet Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Lewis.
And we are Green Wisdom Health, home of your low-cost lab work, here to bring you another very educational show about, this week, MTHFR, which, if some of you are wondering, no, we're not cursing you. We want to educate you a little bit about what MTHFR is, what you can do about it, if you have it, and what is that? Because is that a disease or what's going on? So, Dr. Lewis, can you explain a little bit about MTHFR? I know it's an enzyme that adds a methyl group to folic acid to make it usable by the body. But much of that is Greek to many of us out there. So could you enlighten us with what the real deal is with it?
Yeah, and, you know, I'd like to thank Katie for asking on Shooting Straight with Dr. Lewis. If you're listening and you're not a member, please go ahead and join because it's I've been told, pretty informational, a good way to pass information back and forth. Shooting Straight with Dr. Lewis. And Katie asked about 5-MTHFR, and Katie's the sister of Fran. Hi, Fran. Yeah, at least half of us have that genetic SNP, and SNP stands for SNP, single nucleotide polymorphism, and we can have it to different degrees. It's on one of the genes called 677, and then there's another one, 1298, and you can have a double SNP or a single SNP, and I have a single. It's not one of the worst ones, but I had read enough to figure out, I had it based on me and my family history. So me being who I am, almost perfect to Janet, but I started out, this is a man thing, if a little bit's good, more is better. So I started out on the most powerful one we have, and I tell this story to a lot of people, and I tell it the same. I said, I felt terrible for 5 days, but I don't lose faith. So if you have a bad day, keep on doing the right thing. For God's sake, don't bail out. So I felt bad for 5 days, and on the 6th day, it was like Jesus parted the clouds and angels started singing. And Janet can tell you the very day I don't take that one capsule, and that takes care of the 5-MTHFR problem that I have, which stands for methyl tetrahydrofolate reductase. Used to be easier to say that than just the initials. And, you know, we're going to talk about a lot of things. And
wait, how does someone know whether they have it or not? How do they find that out?
We can do the lab test, and you can get it on 23andMe, which will tell you a lot of other things. And that's the way Janet and I did it. I'd already figured that most things out that 23andMe had told me. They said I'm a slow metabolizer of alcohol. It's like, well, duh, 5 Miller Lights when I was 19 years old. I figured out real quick I didn't metabolize alcohol real quick. I never have been a big drinker anyway, but and it said I had the tendency toward dementia. It's like, well, duh, you look at my mama, you could tell that, although we did put it off about 25 years and made her mental acuity much, much better. You could see it in her 60s. And when I say we, it's me and my brother, Dr. James Lewis, and then Janet came along, and Janet kind of has a way of convincing people in a sweet way to do the right thing. And my mother would do anything for Janet because I told her, I said, well, I finally got a wife like my daddy had. So my mama loved Janet after that. So mama took a lot of stuff, and dementia didn't really get her until she got, you could see it pretty bad in 88. And it really started kicking her butt about 92 or so.
Well, it's interesting that you mention a slow metabolizer of alcohol because actually that's one of the underlying gene mutations like the MTHFR.
Janet just thought I was cheap.
Yeah, it's actually lingering fatigue, fogginess, anxiety, sleep issues, and an inability to deal with alcohol and other toxins effectively can be a result of that gene mutation.
Those are bad drunks. I'm a sweet drunk, and it only takes 1 or 2. 2's kind of overload for me, but
apparently stress has a compounding factor with it as well.
Yeah, stress is one of those words that means so much. It means almost nothing, but some of these methylation defects can contribute to or cause diabetes. How many people are diabetic? And, that's reversible about 95% of the time. It contributes or causes fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, like Janet mentioned, fatigue, cancer. How many people know you have that genetic predisposition but don't do anything about it? I hope you listened to our previous podcast about that. Addictive behavior, including alcoholism. And I'd like some time to get into the mental health issue, because I think that's one of the things that's not being talked about in some of these bad things that are happening in the country. This methylation problem can cause autism or contribute to autism or Down syndrome, frequent miscarriages, bipolar or manic depression. Y'all hang on to that, because if I do get into the mental health issue, remember this can be causing bipolar or manic depression. Allergies, chemical sensitivities. How many people walk down the cleaning aisle of the grocery store and the chemical smell just drives you out of the store? It can cause autoimmune disorders. And I tell you, folks, we're getting more and more autoimmune disorders by the day. And we do have a new product that Janet and I are just incredibly excited about that helps deal with it. And we have just started it, we being Janet and me, because we have to experiment. We don't sell anything we don't know in our heart is a good thing. And it's called SBI Protect. And it's a bovine source of immunoglobulins. And you have to, with that, increase mucosal immunity, and you have to reset the immune system tolerance.
Well, it's for people with leaky gut, right?
Right, because 80% of our immune system's in our gut. Mm-hmm. So the mucosal immunity is one of the big factors in determining your immune system's health and your body's ability to function at a higher level.
I'm pretty excited about it because I have that problem. I have leaky gut problems, and people that have Crohn's and that kind of thing too. Yeah. This is a huge IBS, product for celiac. Apparently, our rep for Orthomolecular talked to us about it, and he said this used to be a $400 per month drug that they gave these people for leaky gut, and it really did help. But because it had gone to $400 per month, they decided to let the patent go on it and not make it a drug anymore. So Orthomolecular bought the rights to make it into the natural product that originally starts out anyway as. And it now at I think it's $70 or something like that, something around that price.
So we're having some incredible success with the people that said, I don't want to wait for you to experiment. I want on it now. And they're coming back saying, oh my God, I hadn't felt the peace of God and my guts don't hurt. And we're just hearing, because some people don't want to wait for Janet and me to experiment. They're jumping on it with us. They're willing to take the chance. We're getting some incredible feedback for those that have IBS, et cetera, gut problems.
And keep in mind, it can take up to 2 months to make a difference in the gut to heal it if you're really, really bad. So don't think, take a couple of scoops of it and you're going to be one of those people that have that great reaction. But some people just take a little bit longer.
Well, part of it's your faith too. I mean, Janet feels things quicker. Yeah, you get your peak healing at 1 to 2 months. Janet's absolutely right.
But I can tell you that it does change bowel motility.
In a good way.
It's a good way to say it. For they say the people that have like irritable bowel and they're going, I think that the test was done on with these people with this product where they were going like to 16 times a day. Yeah,
if you're pooping 16 times a day, you need 16 scoops.
Right.
And well, it's 5 milligrams. And anyway, you can go down when your bowel motility slows down. Janet's laughing. I think I said something that's, I'm always putting my boot in my mouth, but immunoglobulins are very, very important. And we've known about them for over 100 years. There's all kinds of immunological studies and Nobel Prizes given for people over 100 years ago that discovered this. And, colostrum back in the 1990s. Well, colostrum's still a really good thing. We have to get our colostrum out of New Zealand because they're happier, cleaner cows. But we've actually gone beyond the efficacy of colostrum. So if you want a healthy body and your kids or grandkids have issues, this is an easy thing to get into a finicky kid's diet.
Yeah. So can you relate that now back to MTHFR, how that has something to do with the gut health and the MTHFR gene?
Oh my God, she's going to tie my thoughts together. And just talked to a sweet lady, Toya, in California, and she said she loved our interview with Drew Manning. And I said, well, that's the one that this other lady says, I didn't go down the rabbit hole. I stay in the rabbit hole or down the rabbit tracks. And, that's kind of normal for me.
Well, he gets very excited about things, and so his thoughts run randomly. But I'm trying, he does have a method to his madness over there, and I'm going to put it all together for you.
Yeah, a friend of mine years ago put it real well. He said, I don't shoot a pump shotgun because I get so excited I forget to pump the action and, miss all the birds. So, gut health is very, very many times, at least half the time, probably a lot more connected to the MTHFR problem. And some of the things that it can also cause is dementia and Alzheimer's. Well, okay, 23andMe said I have that tendency. But if you listen to the last podcast, thank you, Debbie Terry, for telling me how much she enjoyed it. She's kind of a crazy girl from Midland, grew up together. I don't know where I was going with that because I get dementia and Alzheimer's, but it can also cause schizophrenia and anxiety. Y'all pay attention to that. We're, trying to lead into mental health, and that is very, very, very connected to the GI tract. Janet's a real sweet lady. She buys me dozens and dozens and dozens of books. And one of my favorites is about the GI tract being the second brain from Dr. Gershhorn. It's actually a lot more technical than I thought it was going to be. So I really kind of enjoyed that. But you have to get the gut healthy to have a healthy mind. Some of the things that interfere with your methylation pathway, if you don't have enough zinc, which is all of us, B2, which is riboflavin, magnesium, B6, B12, which is the good ones, methylcobalamin. People say, but I've got a really good product. Well, if it's got methylcobalamin, okay, good. If it's got cyanocobalamin, they're lying to you and you fell for their hype, because cyanocobalamin is not very convertible. It has to be done in the liver, and you can take heavy, heavy doses of cyanocobalamin and still have a B12 deficiency. So people say, oh, well, this company says they're the best. Yeah, look at what they're putting in it. If it's cyanocobalamin and magnesium oxide, run for the hills. It's not that good. Then there's folate. Now, folate is what this MTHFR is about, methyl tetrahydrofolic acid. You have to have a specific kind if you have that genetic SNP, and that specific type is MTHFR. And the folic acid, we found a new one too, because I read about something called folinic acid that feeds the hippocampus of the brain. And Janet gives me lots of stuff to support my heart and the brain. She says, we need your big brain, which is not true, but she's just humoring me. This folinic acid is coupled with TMG, which is trimethylglycine, which is a methyl donor, so it helps you methylate. And I swear my memory got really, really good. I can remember codes from our condo in Branson from months ago. I can remember our room what do you call it? I can't remember that. The number they give you to confirm that you have a room rented.
The confirmation number?
Yeah, the confirmation. I'm going down another rabbit hole. I can remember some of those from several months ago, and it's like this folinic acid with TMG. Oh my God, I can't believe it. And I do take a lot of the 5-MTHFR too. But one of the things that can contribute to this problem is poor diet. Well, we all have a poor diet. Poor probiotic status, because that does not allow your GI tract to function as effectively as it can. Remember back, if y'all listen to any of our podcasts, you remember me saying that there's certain species of lactobacillus that decreases your anxiety response, and the bifidobacterium that increases your GABA, your serotonin. So the lactobacillus and the bifidobacterium are very, very critical, and it takes a very serious effort to get that into your GI tract, because you're just putting 1 or 2 capsules a day, but it's into it's hard for a small army to overwhelm what it is going into the GI tract. So that's why this SBI Protect is real important, because it tightens the junctions of a leaky gut so that you don't get those pathogens, those antigens that go through that gut mucosal lining and create more of an autoimmune system. So medications actually strip you of a lot of the vitamins and minerals that you don't have enough of anyway. The conditions, like Crohn's or celiac, that lowers a lot of your nutrition too. So one of the other things is heavy metals and chemical sensitivities. And Joe from Saline, Michigan asked about heavy metals and mercury in your mouth, and I try not to get into that. It's real controversial, but I did tell you I had those taken out of my mouth, because they were in fillings. And if you smoke, you're getting tons of cadmium. We're full of aluminum, which can create Alzheimer's, or a major contributing factor. Too high copper, believe it or not. Arsenic. Well, my wife doesn't give me arsenic. Well, if she's giving you chicken, she's giving you arsenic. If it's not organic, you're getting arsenic like crazy. So don't think you're immune to this. Acetaldehyde, which is caused by candida, actually, but you get the formaldehyde from your carpets, outgassing from your linoleum and things like that. So I want to talk a little bit about the supplements that can be good, but you have to understand, people, I hear this term all the time, brain fog. Well, if you get a hangover, that can be yeast overgrowth, which can go to bad gut health, which is 5-MTHFR problem, or it can be the alcohol intolerance. And it could be that it's just yeast, or it could be that it's the methylation problem, migraines, depression, anxiety, irritability. There's just tons and tons of those things. So for a minute, I'd like to talk about some of the supplements that I think everybody should be taking, because you don't get it out of the diet. I don't care how good your diet is. So let's talk about B1, and that's thiamine. And most of the time I put them on benfotiamine, which is generally more effective than thiamine because it helps control damage from diabetes. It helps with the brain fog if that's an overload of yeast, and they have or candida. They have the ability to offset your body's ability to absorb it, and that's a scary thing. So if you have a deficiency in B1 or thiamine, you can have symptoms that can include gastrointestinal disturbances. So who knows where this comes from? Is it from the GI tract to the brain to the GI tract? Is it a nutrient deficiency? It can cause heart changes. It can cause irritability. It can cause labored breathing, loss of appetite. Well, that'd be a good thing for most of us. Muscle atrophy. It can cause nervousness. Notice there's a lot of mental issues going on here. There was a study I read one time about in a prison, they gave all the prisoners a dose of B vitamin complex. Now, keep in mind, it was probably a lower class, not the best B vitamin complex. The violence in this bad prison is full of bad boys. Violence was cut 50%. Now, can you imagine if some of these things that's going on today that's horrible, what if these kids had good nutrition? Would their brain function better? Hey, all this research says it does.
And we talk about all of these issues and getting tested. There's also, if you have depression or, like Dr. Lewis said, any of those symptoms that he named off, there's a product that you can just take and see how it works, because it's a very high amount of the folate and the B12.
The right kind of folate.
Right, all in one pill. It's a quadrafolic 5-methylhydrofolic acid.
Ooh, that's sexy.
Thank you. But you only have to take one pill of these, and you do it one in the morning, and it really does make a difference for people that have this mutation. I'm also going to put on the website the the testing if you're interested in seeing which lab test to find out if you have that difficulty, because that's really something you need to know because you're more open to a whole lot more problems. But there is the product's called methyl CPG. It's by Orthomolecular. And I will put that in the show notes as well if you forget what I said. So that's a great one. And
that's the one I felt bad for 5 days. I stuck with it on the 6th day. It's like, oh my God, Janet can tell you the day I don't take it. She can tell you.
Yeah, and we've also promised a couple of people we'd answer some questions because we do have our question and answer segment that is going on. One of them, because we're still in the middle of this flu bug sick season, and then coming up on allergy season, the question was from Krista R. Sinus congestion and drainage, even after adding a humidifier. Is there a product that is great for sinus drainage? So I'll let Dr. Lewis answer that for us.
Especially if you're clogged up, the Sinutrol has done an incredible job to open it up and be kind of... it kind of helps dissolve some of those things. It's full of berberine, which is anti-yeast, antifungal. And in the studies, if you read the real research, 96% of all sinus problems are fungal.
I thought that was very interesting. So there's things in Sinutrol that are big viral killers.
Berberine. And then it's got the bromelain, which is, from pineapple. And it's a really good enzyme for inflammation in general. And it's got the turmeric root, and it's the good stuff, which is 95% curcumin, which we'll get into in another show. Then it's eleutherio root, which is a very good adaptogenic herb. And then thyme extract, which, that's not just for flavoring things. It's also very, very medicinal in its use. Then it's got andrographis, which is a adaptogenic herb. Then it has a pretty high dose of something called N-acetylcysteine, which is called NAC. NAC is a mucus thinner, but also it's an incredible liver detoxifier, and it's the precursor to glutathione. And glutathione is an incredible energy producer and immune system booster, and that's why I tell people you better take care of your liver, because the liver's like a woman. If the liver ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. Well, that's kind of like a woman.
1 to 3, folks, in the morning. If you're awake, that's the hours that it will try to repair. And if you're just wide awake, you better suspect mama ain't happy.
Yeah, and people that have a small alcoholic drink, and then they get mean or depressed.
MTHFR problem.
Yeah, probably so. And it's like, I know people like that, and it's like they've never even had their genetic testing, but it's like, God, you're an idiot when you're drunk. Not that you're much better when you're sober. But speaking of alcohol, there's one thing I want to tell you. There is a course given by a guy out of the UK. It's called The Truth About Alcohol by Lee Davy, Davy. And if you're interested in taking a course that's different than Alcoholics Anonymous, you might want to talk to Lee Davy. You can look him up on the internet. He's easy to find. So,
okay, then we've got Katie L. wanted to know, while traveling, is there anything to keep the bugs away?
Well, I put a picture of the Shiner beer sign and said, this is my flu shot, and I got a lot of likes on that. Actually, I don't think beer is good for sinuses or keeping the flu bug away. I was just teasing.
Well, any kind of bugs, like when you're traveling, you pick up stuff in the water or whatever.
Yeah, we take stuff.
We have there's a couple of things that I always take whenever we travel, because you never know what you're getting. One of them is Parashield, because believe it or not, parasites exist, and sometimes in other places that you travel, they exist a little bit more prevalent. So we take Parashield to try to kill off anything. Olive leaf extract is also another great one. It's got to have a high amount of oliprin in it. We carry a great one here if you've not ever heard of it.
Yeah, there's good medical research on that one.
That one's a huge one for like a natural antibiotic to carry along.
I didn't get MRSA when I had the spider bite, and the surgeon sent another surgeon in and swabbed my spider bite, swabbed my nose. They said, you get that, and that's called MRSA. That's the flesh-eating bacteria. They said, we don't understand. You always get it from the spider bite. If you don't get it from the spider bite, you get it from the hospital. And they said, we don't understand. And I was given literally a lecture at 3 a.m. to the nurses about olive leaf and the research that Upjohn did on it. And they said, we don't understand. I said, you don't need to understand. That's the problem in America. You think you have to understand it. All you have to do is put it in and have faith. And we need to be a nation of doers, not a nation of thinkers.
And then the other product that I take along with us is Innate, the probiotic, because I know it's supposed to be refrigerated, but many times I don't do that whenever we're traveling, and it's just fine. It's
not that critical.
Yes, it's just shortens the shelf life down from like 4 years to 2 or something. So I figure I'm going to take it during that time. But the thing with Innate, either the 2014 or the 5014, it will help you with food poisoning, which is why we found it to start with. Okay. I actually had food poisoning, and that's how we came across that product.
She ate some really not so good Japanese food, and she'll never go back to that restaurant.
Yeah, I told, we were in Mississippi at the time in a hotel, and I told Dr. Lewis, just leave me here. I'm going to die, and just come back another day.
You're not dying in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Yeah. You know,
and
ain't happening.
And I did not know anything about Innate probiotic at that time. And after I could not get over it, which took me 2 or 3 weeks before we found this product, a sample was sent to me, and I tried it, and oh my gosh, it was like every time I took it, I felt better and better. So that's one thing I am never without when we travel. Another question that came in is people keep hearing these shows, and they don't really know what we do. For those of you that don't know what we do, basically we run low-cost lab work, and we run it across the United States. We have it drawn at a facility close to your home. It's a special contract that we have, and it's with Quest Diagnostics across the United States. But now some of you probably know that we do this because we have the lab panels on the website, which has been a huge blessing for everyone because they can look and see what they want. The problem is they don't know what to pick. So one of the questions was, what panel should we pick when we get started? So there's a couple of ways you can do it. Our favorite is to have you fill out a health survey, and it actually will recommend to you what, based on what you filled out, what panel is the best one for you. If you're not comfortable with that, Dr. Lewis actually reads every one of those surveys that come through, and he can make recommendations, and either he or I call you, either one, and tell you which one we recommend. The safe one, if you don't want to talk to us, which I can't imagine why you wouldn't want to do that, but some people don't want to talk to us. They would rather just do it themselves and order. It would be the comprehensive panel. And I'm telling you that the ones that come with Dr. Lewis's complimentary consultation and a recommended supplement sheet and a functional medicine report, as well as a copy of your lab, we have exclusive pricing on, so we've bundled it all together to save you a whole lot of money. And all of those lab panels they'll have numbers in them. They all start with a GWH for Green Wisdom Health, and they're numbered 1 through 8. And the easiest, probably simplest one to get started with is the comprehensive, which is GWH3. Because that's just the basic panels. And when we say basic, that's 12 different lab panels. So, and I know at your doctor's office, basic's about 1 to 3, but our basic is 12.
And I would suggest you add the hormones too. So,
and if he's suggesting to add the hormones, you'll see that it's either GWH1 or GWH2, depending on whether you're male or female, because that is a really special price. If you're not having hormone problems and you want to start, and the cheapest way is the comprehensive one. So hopefully that answers some questions and clears up some confusion about how to get started with all of that.
And I didn't get around to a whole lot of things, which is typical. When I write these things, I always have about 4, 5, 10 times more information than I get around to. And that's why I talk sometimes fast, which is really not in my nature. I bet you Debbie can tell you about that one.
but you get right to the point. That's what we always enjoy.
Yeah, right down that rabbit trail and that rabbit trail and that rabbit trail. So, thank you for helping keep me a little bit straighter, but I hope you get a lot out of it. And there's so many other things I'd like to say, and I just, can't get around to all of it in 30 minutes, but we have so many opportunities to get our mental health back, to have better function, and to take care of some of this crazy stuff that's going on. And it's not that hard. It's not that expensive. And we give advice about that. I was asked the other day if I'd go to Dallas and give a talk to a church, and I looked at her and said, yeah, for you, I will. But, there's so many answers out there, and listen to different podcasts, but for goodness sake, get on it and do it. And we can help guide you. If you have any questions, my number here is 903-663-1008, or get on the website, greenwisdomhealth.com.
And we'll have another entertaining and educational show for you next week. Bless you.
Once again, our show has come to an end, but your hope in your health is only beginning. If you or a loved one are in need of a different outcome and are waiting for a brighter future, take the first step and go to our website and fill out the health survey. Please don't keep us a secret. If you know someone that could benefit from this podcast, please share this show with your friends and family. You're only one step away from a life worth living.